Am I the bad guy for saying no to cooking for my fiance's mom and embarrassing them both in the process? My fiance Milo and I are really struggling. Everything has fallen apart in the last year. We were living in a rent-to-own home for 6 years, but then the owner died. His daughter tried to kick us out so she could sell the house. We took her to court, but it cost us a lot, nearly $36,000 in lawyer fees over 4 months. In the end, we lost and had to move out in just 14 days. The problem is, there's a huge shortage of affordable housing in our state. Really tough. So we had nowhere to go. I had to send my 3 kids to live with my mom temporarily, while Milo and I slept in our cars for 2 months, parked outside my mom's house. She didn't have enough room for all of us, but she made space for the kids. We tried to get into homeless shelters, but they were all full, and we were put on waiting lists. Milo was still working full-time, but I was pregnant and had to stop working due to health issues. We were struggling to make ends meet with just his income, especially since we were living in our cars during a really cold month, February. Our money was running out fast, and we felt like we were in a desperate situation with no solution. During this really tough time, none of Milo's family members were willing to help us out. His dad owns a big farmhouse with 4 bedrooms and 18 acres of land, but he's always on the road working as a trucker, so the house is mostly empty. Milo's mom also has a 3-bedroom home with 2 spare rooms, but she didn't want to take us in either. They both said they didn't want to live with anyone else, which is understandable. But it's still hard to understand why they couldn't make an exception to help us out. Anyway, let's jump forward to now. We were lucky to find a new place to live just 2 days before our daughter was born. She's almost 3 months old now. We're still struggling, but not as much as we were before. We're getting by with help from local food banks. But to be honest, I don't eat much. My kids always come first, so they get full meals, and some nights I only get a few bites. But last Wednesday, I got some good news. I was approved for temporary financial help, which means we'll get $300 a month to help us out. I'm getting this temporary help until I'm allowed to go back to work. Anyway, Milo's mom showed up at our place yesterday while I was cooking dinner. She said, "Oh, what's for dinner?" but I didn't really respond. To be honest, I've been struggling with postpartum depression, PPD, and I don't feel like having company, especially when they just drop by unannounced. But she just stood there, hovering, and then Milo came in and said something like, "Wow, that smells amazing, babe," and his mom said, "Yes, it does. I can't wait to try some." I told Milo's mom that I couldn't feed her. I explained that I was only making enough food for us to get by, so we wouldn't run out again like we did before. But she looked at the food and said something like, "It looks like there's more than enough to go around," so I had to tell her again, "I'm not feeding you." I wanted to make it clear that we didn't have extra to share. Milo came over to me and whispered that we should just let his mom eat with us, because apparently she's going through a tough time too. But I was frustrated and snapped at him. I told him that my only priority is my family, our kids, him, and me. I reminded him that no one cared about us when we were struggling to survive, living in our cars in the freezing cold, and barely having enough food. I had to live on peanut butter crackers for a while, and I even lost weight while I was pregnant. So, I told him that his mom's needs are not my top concern right now. I have to prioritize feeding my kids and myself, especially since I'm breastfeeding. If his mom is hungry, she can go to one of her other children's homes to eat. But instead, she just stormed out of our house without saying a word. Now Milo is upset with me, saying that I embarrassed him and that I should be more understanding since we've been through struggles ourselves. He thinks I should have shown more empathy towards his mom. But honestly, I don't want to worry about anyone else right now except my kids. And I'm definitely not willing to use the limited food assistance we just got to feed his mom. Milo is still upset with me, but I'm having a hard time caring about his feelings right now. What really irritates me is that he won't see things from my perspective. His mom was willing to let us live in our car while I was pregnant and struggling, and now she wants us to share our food with her too. It doesn't seem fair. So am I the asshole, Ada, for feeling this way?
story too.
Was I wrong to tell my friend's husband about her affair? I'm a 25-year-old woman, and I've been best friends with Sarah, who's 26, since high school. We've been through everything together, and she's like a sister to me. Sarah has been married to John, who's 28, for 2 years. They always seemed like the perfect couple, and I often wished I had a relationship like theirs. A few months ago, Sarah started acting weird. She was being secretive, always on her phone, and often lied about where she was. At first, I thought she was just stressed from work or not ready to talk about something. But then I discovered the truth. Sarah was having an affair with a guy named Mark, who's 30 and works with her. I accidentally found out about Sarah's affair when she left her phone at my apartment after a girls' night. Her phone kept getting messages from Mark, and when I saw the explicit conversations, I felt nauseous. The next day, I confronted Sarah about it, and she confessed everything. She told me she didn't love her husband John anymore but was too afraid to leave him because she was worried about money and what her family and friends would think. I tried to convince Sarah to stop the affair and either fix her marriage or be honest with John and leave him. She promised me she would, but nothing changed. Weeks went by, and she kept seeing Mark behind John's back. I couldn't bear seeing John being lied to and cheated on. He was a good person who truly loved Sarah, and he deserved to know the truth about what was going on. After a lot of thinking and struggling with what to do, I decided to tell John the truth. I met him at a coffee shop and explained everything that had been going on. I even showed him the messages I had seen on Sarah's phone. John was completely heartbroken, and I felt awful for being the one to tell him such painful news. He thanked me for being honest with him and said he would take care of things from there. The consequences were huge. John confronted Sarah and their marriage ended. Sarah was angry with me for telling John about her affair. She called me a traitor and ended our friendship. Our mutual friends were split. Some thought I did the right thing, while others thought I had interfered too much and ruined people's lives. Months later, Sarah and John are divorced. Sarah is now living with Mark, but their relationship is unstable. John is trying to move on with his life, but he's still hurting. As for me, I've lost a close friend and am left wondering if I made the right decision. So, was I wrong to tell my friend's husband about her affair?